John McNaughton, which most of you will undoubtedly know for the highly controversial Henry portrait of a serial killer. So John, that's been many decades ago. What has brought you back to the genre?
I love the horror genre, but it can be a terrible ghetto, and you get caught in it and they won't let you out. And so I hadn't done horror for a while, and it's also very difficult to find a good horror script. My agent sent me this script, and my first read of it was, I felt that it was kind of a little on the booga booga side. So I read it again, and I realized that lurking beneath the surface, there were some really interesting and dark ideas that needed to be pulled forward.
It's one of my favourite films at the festival. Not an out-and-out horror film. It contains a lot of subtlety. Because of the nature of the film, it's more horrific than having a monster running around.
Childhood is often depicted as this lovely, skipping and happy time, and there's the darkness of children and fears and family dynamics and stuff that is just really an interesting and dark place to explore. I think at the core it's a story of child sacrifice, and not necessarily in the way you may think. Which is, to me, probably the darkest thing that there is to contemplate. There's a very metaphorical quality going on that involves one's heart, both literal and figurative.
I was going to say, quite literally. When you see Peter Fonda, a once wild man, being brilliant as a grandfather.
He's just a wonderful guy that's been everywhere and done everything, and he's one of the kindest people. I mean, everyone, when Peter walks onto the set, the crew is happy, because they know he's going to be, a lot of fun, and he's going to, he'll sit and talk with anybody, from the kid that brings coffee to the, President Obama. It's all the same to him, one human being to another. He's just one of the coolest guys that ever walked this planet. He dropped acid with the Beatles. Come on. What else do you have to do in your life?
I'm so delighted to have the UK premiere of The Babadook, and its star, Essie Davis, is with us. It's a shocking film to watch as it carries on. People are really, really reacting and coming out quite emotionally drained.
It's quite a confronting role, particularly to dealing with motherhood. As a mother myself, I felt a bit worried that it was extreme, but way too close to me, and that my children might hate me forever. I gave my all for Jen because I think that she wrote a great film, and she was one of the most powerful directors I've worked with. When I saw it, I was like, this is beautiful and amazing and really moving, but it's not scary. And then I went to Sundance and people went, ah! And I went, oh, it is scary. Okay.
The Babadook character itself, I mean, that's actually quite an inspired creation, really.
The word, the Babadook, came from her wanting to have something that sounded like a child could have made it up, but also something that was like beautifully alliterated, and from that alliteration came this kind of poem that is, if it's in a word or if it's in a look, you can't get rid of the Babadook. It is kind of the boogeyman, and maybe it is Baba Yaga, but it's none of these things. It's not something that's known, but it is like your worst nightmare.
Spoiler-free synopsis.
Spoiler-free.
I
thought you said spider-free.
Oh no, you can throw a few spiders in.
One landed on my neck on the tube today, and I wondered if that was a bit of an omen. The simplest way that we've been phrasing the film is it's a psychological tale of Victorian revenge.
Whose idea was it to set it in Brighton? Because as far as I know, I don't believe there's been another horror film set in Brighton before.
Is that right?
So why was it set in Brighton?
Ross, the original writer, lives in Brighton. He rented a flat, and within it they found a hidden room which had no windows in it. Doing the research, they discovered that the building used to be a brothel a long time ago, and this was like the resting room for the girls in between their assignments. So that just fired his imagination. There was talk that we could shoot it somewhere else. People were saying, oh, there's a pier in Cardiff, that's kind of Victorian. And as soon as we went to Brighton, we were like, no, I don't care what it takes, we're shooting it here.
I have you to thank for completing my journey now, from starting off as a fan at FrightFest to actually being in a film at FrightFest.
Excellent.
How did I get involved?
But we did originally want you in your underwear for the part, and the first thing I heard was, not getting in my crackers for nobody.
Trust me, nobody at FrightFest would have wanted to see me in my dirty old vest and pants.
They look brilliant anyway.
Thank you.
can relate to actors who sort of feel like, you know, they're getting older and they're not getting the chances they need to, and they're, you know, and they're not going to look the way they looked when they were 25. So the roles that they would get when they were 25 are very different from the roles they would get when they were 30, and they have to hurry, you know. So there's the whole idea of feeling like there's a ticking clock, and that sometimes that ticking clock makes you feel like you have to then make bad decisions in order to get what you want. And it's in those moments when that clock is ticking and your back is against the wall that you find out who you really are, you know. So this movie's really about informing on this girl learning about who she really is. She's not a good person.
And and we obviously as filmmakers understand that and have felt that ourselves in our career, but just, you know, we also want to tell a body horror story, so just switching it over to an actress over a filmmaker was a much clearer vision to like make it to tell a body horror story.
Over the last few years, one of the things that's become an integral part of FrightFest is the idents that play before the films, telling you to turn off your bloody mobile phone. With me is Jim Webber, award-winning filmmaker, who's produced a ident for
this year's FrightFest. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the ident.
Well, it's very violent, it's very bloody, so I guess it should probably go down quite well. We got a Rosie Day and another up-and-coming actor called Sam Gittins, who just went to a cinema for a couple of hours and made this kind of bloody monstrosity. Obviously I love horror, I wouldn't be in FrightFest in the first place. Yeah, I'm sort of just waiting for the right moment to make a proper, you know, full-on horror film. But we'll see, watch this space.
So do we have turning up like a bad penny year after year after year? It's Adam Green.
I'm so happy to be here.
This time you're back, not with Hatchet 20, but with a film called Digging Up The Marrow, which is actually quite an unusual film for you.
It's kind of a hard movie to describe because it's not quite a mockumentary. It's not a found footage movie. Everybody in it is really playing themselves except for Decker, the cop, who's played by Ray Wise. And the reason we did that was so that nobody would think we're trying to hoax them, because right out of the gate we want people to know, like, it's just a movie. It's just being told in a way that hopefully suspends your disbelief a little bit more than usual. Other filmmakers that I was showing it to along the way with editing, and they would say, well, your biggest mistake was casting Ray Wise, because once I saw him, I knew this wasn't real. And then I would always say, so 10 minutes later when the first monster showed up, you were going to think this was real? And then they're like, oh yeah.
A lot of people are going, looking forward to it, I have to say. The vibe in the cinema is really, you know, what's he turned out this time?
I didn't know if that would be a mistake to not have a trailer accessible or stills. Most are coming and they're excited that they don't know what it is. And trying to not hype something that ended up hyping it because we didn't hype it. Right? So like, no, either way I can't win. Someone's gonna say that, like, oh, it was overhyped. I'm like, literally didn't say anything about it. So we just want to make it an event. So we would travel from city to city and have the movie and a Q&A, maybe even bring some of the monsters, which are amazing to see in person, because most of them are animatronic or puppets, or there's actually only one that actually has a human being inside it. FrightFest is probably the only festival we're gonna do. This audience is heads and tails above everybody. I mean, they're very, very smart. They've seen every horror movie out there, and they like movies that make them think. It's not just blood and gore. Coming from the guy who made Hatchet 1 through 9, 6, 4, 3. We only made 3. That's not even that bad when you really think about it. Maybe I'll do Hatchet 4. No, I won't.
You're here at FrightFest, the biggest horror festival in UK. You're not often talked about as a horror writer, but you've written a lot of stuff over the years that's kind of has at least one foot in the genre.
I've done some what you'd call horror writing. I've done a lot more of what you'd call horrible writing.
Alan thinks he's God and, in the film.
Getting a chance to work with the legend that is Alan and the legend that is Mitch, you know, they're a perfect double act, and they've just been, a joy. I'm very lucky.
I've known Alan for around 30 years. We're very close friends anyway, and I'm a Northampton boy, the same as Alan.
It's been a really weird roller coaster, real steep learning curve. It's been endless fun. It's kind of like having the best sugar high in the world and knowing that there's no calories involved.
Mitch is a brilliant photographer, and he went to Alan one day and said, hey, listen, can you write me a little film?
You've famously been ill-treated by the film industry.
I have been ill-treated by the film industry, but I have tried to treat them very unpleasantly in return, so we're probably about even on that one. I've always been averse to adaptations. if you're going to take something that was clearly intended to show off the strengths of a particular medium, and then you suddenly transpose it to another medium, that's probably not going to work. Once Mitch actually suggested doing this film together, and when I was confident that it would be done exactly as we wanted it to do, without any kind of compromises, then it's been a really fun experience. Any form of creative activity is always at its best if it is a form of extended play. And yeah, we're just playing dress up with a lot of our mates.
The film itself is sort of a vision of purgatory or something along those lines as a working men's club.
The electricians and the grips actually left the site and went to McDonald's as soon as they were confronted with the food from the working men's club.
Yeah, I mean,
it got better. It got better over the next couple of days, but they were just like,
we've got all of our characters, all of our cast in full makeup. There were these people. They looked a bit unhappy, and we were saying, "Oh, you know, who are those people?" And they said, "Oh, that's a wake."
Because they refused to close the blooming bar. They gave us the back room to film, but they wouldn't close the bar.
So we've got all of our clowns, strippers, and me. And I could see that it might have been seen as a bit inappropriate, but that is only proper.
Yes,
it was their pub
before
it was our set.
It keeps it real.
It keeps it real. I think we all know that. That is where we go when we die. We go to Northampton.